Number 1.
Asia Wilbon vanished from the West Hill area of Kent, Washington on February 12, 2020. The teen girl had just recently moved to Washington from out of state. On the day of her disappearance, Asia was reportedly last seen at home. Her family members and friends began to try and locate her after they noticed she was gone. By the following afternoon, all calls to Asia's phone went straight to voicemail, indicating that it was either turned off or had a dead battery. Once Asia was reported missing, investigators were able to determine that her last phone ping occurred in Federal Way at 1:35 p.m. on February 13. Family and friends then began distributing flyers and appealing to the locals in Kent for anyone with information about her whereabouts. It's been 1 year since 16-year-old Asia Wilbon left her home in Kent, Washington. She has yet to return. Asia's father, Richard Wilbon, said he saw her on the evening of February 12, 2020, right before bed. According to Wilbon, his wife heard Asia moving around the house at approximately 1 o'clock or 2 a.m. and thought she was using the bathroom. When Wilbon and his wife arrived home from work the following day, February 13, Asia was gone. That afternoon, all calls to her cell phone went straight to voicemail, and texts were not returned, indicating her phone battery had either died or been purposefully shut off. Investigators promptly attempted to track her smartphone and determined the last ping occurred in Federal Way at 1:35 p.m. on February 13. A reported sighting of Asia near the Federal Way Transit Center focused the search to the area, but no signs of her presence were found. I feel that when she left the house, she wasn't in a good headspace mentally, and just went out for a walk. None of her clothes are missing. The only thing that she took was her phone and house keys, Wilbon said. Wilbon's family and friends distributed flyers all across Kent, hoping that somebody had information on Asia's whereabouts. On February 15, it was reported that Asia was last seen at the Federal Way Transit Center at around 9:30 a.m. Her loved ones focused on the area but could not locate Asia or any indication she had been there. On February 25, 2020, the Kent police emailed a local reporter with some information, including that Asia was likely wearing black clothes, and that she may be upset because of her mother's death. This information suggests that Asia might have run away. Still, as months continue to pass without any sign of her, concerns for her safety have significantly grown. Kent police reportedly have very little additional information to work with, and Asia's whereabouts remain unknown. A year later, the investigation has hit a standstill. Wilbon said they haven't heard from the detective assigned to his daughter's case in about 9 months. According to Jaron Kastner, Assistant Police Chief for the Kent Police Department, there are no new developments. The case remains open. Asia was an introvert and a homebody. She loved being in her room and very seldom wanted to leave the house. Wilbon explained, when we made family plans to go out and do things together, she would agree to go and then change her mind at the last minute, because she didn't want to be around people, and the thought of it increased her anxiety. Wilbon received an email from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in December 2020, informing him that there was a possible sighting of Asia in South Carolina. According to Wilbon, the NCMEC advised they would follow up, but he has yet to receive an update. I do not think that she left with the intentions of not coming back. Wilbon said, I feel like she is out there somewhere, and in extreme danger. If you see Asia, call 911. If you know anything regarding Asia's disappearance, or whereabouts, please contact Kent Police Department at 25385222121. Case #KP2105. There is a $5,000 reward for information leading to locating Asia.
Number 2.
Cerise Campbell has been missing since August 2020. Some sources have the date of her disappearance as August 2, 2020, while others list the date of her disappearance as August 7, 2020. Cerise was reportedly last seen at her home in San Antonio, Texas. There is very little additional information available about Cerise's disappearance, but she is listed as a runaway. At this time, there is also very little information about what happened on the day Cerise vanished. Although reports state she left on her own accord, it's unclear what led her to run away. Information about Cerise's life and family is scarce. On August 19, 2020, a short video about Cerise's disappearance was posted on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children Facebook page. Many San Antonio locals commented on the post, saying that they had not heard anything about Cerise's disappearance, despite the fact that she had been missing for over 2 weeks at this point. I think the most important part is her age is a big factor. She's only 12 years old. She can't do much of anything on her own, she would need somebody's assistance, said Officer Chris Ramos, a spokesperson for the San Antonio Police Department. Ramos says investigators are extremely concerned about Cerise's disappearance. Cerise was last seen on August 7, 2020, leaving her grandmother's house on the east side, along E. Houston St. near E. Commerce St. We do believe that she's still somewhere on that side of town, but we're not sure. That's why we're asking the public if they've seen her, or with somebody else, Ramos went on to say. Missing children who are classified as endangered or kidnapped often receive more media attention than children who have left on their own accord. However, a child of Cerise's age is considered to be the most at risk amongst runaway children. It's also very unlikely that an 11-year-old child would be able to run away without help, so there is a strong possibility that somebody in Cerise's life has information about her disappearance. Still, there have been very few public updates about her disappearance. If you have information that could lead to Cerise's whereabouts, please call 1-800-THELOST.
Number 3.
Crystal Fry has been missing since late 2020. Before vanishing, the young mother was living in Baltimore, Maryland with her boyfriend, father of her 2 youngest children. Crystal's family members have not heard from her since November 11, 2020. That day, Crystal called her mother, Teresa Silverman, and told her that the previous 3 days had been the worst of her life. She explained that somebody had broken into her home by kicking in the front door, so she was staying with the father of her oldest child until it could be fixed. Crystal also told Teresa that she was scared for her life. The two then made plans to meet up the following day so they could talk more about the break-in. Crystal never showed up as planned, and her family has not heard from her again. Certain reports state that Crystal was last seen on December 12, 2020. It's unclear if this was the day she was reported missing, or if she was actually seen on this day. Either way, Crystal's family members have grown very concerned about her safety, especially after she did not show up for any holiday celebrations. It is extremely out of character for Crystal to abandon her daughters, and her family members do not believe she would voluntarily stay out of touch with them. There have been very few reports about Crystal's disappearance. Very little is known about the alleged break-in at Crystal's home. Her mother has hired a private investigator to assist in the search. Anyone with information that could lead to Crystal's whereabouts is encouraged to come forward. If you have any information that could help the investigation, please call 410-396-2221.
Number 4.
Kristen Galvan was only 15 years old when she vanished on January 2, 2020. She was last seen at her grandmother's home in Spring, Texas. Kristen left the home on the day of her disappearance, and never returned. She has never been seen or heard from again. Despite the fact that Kristen left on her own accord, her loved ones immediately began to worry for her safety. Her family members began to suspect that she had been sold into trafficking by a boy whom she had been hanging out with prior to her disappearance. Kristen's picture was reportedly seen on a website known for prostitution. Her family members attempted to locate her on Bissonnet Street, an area in Houston that is also well known for prostitution and trafficking. Unfortunately, Kristen's family members were unable to locate her. And the FBI now believe her life is in imminent danger. Kristen's mom, Robin Bennett, said her daughter was potentially sold into the dark world of child sex trafficking when she was 15. Before Kristen was taken 1 year, 3 months and 22 days ago, she was a sweet teenager, Bennett said. She was a good student, in JROTC, and on the drill team. She lightened any room she entered. It's scary to think that Kristen was lured out of our home, by new friendships full of empty promises, and sold into the dark world of child sex trafficking. Bennett's heartbroken mom added, "Someone knows something. Please help me find my baby girl Kristen." Kristen is 5 foot, 6 inches tall, 135 pounds, and she has blonde hair and hazel eyes. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the FBI, and the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office believe Kristen is being trafficked in Texas. FBI Special Agent Bethany Morris said, "Because Kristen is a possible victim of human trafficking, this means her life could be in danger." Kristen will be 17 years old on April 23, 2021. Kristen's family and friends miss her terribly. Morris added, "If you have any information related to her whereabouts, please contact NCMEC at 1-800-THELOST and help bring Kristen home. If anyone has any information, contact Montgomery County Sheriff's Office at 936-760-5800 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THELOST, that's 1-800-843-5678.
Number 5.
Suzanne and Barry Morphew's marriage was at the center of testimony during the second day of the 53-year-old father's preliminary hearing in Salida, Colorado, Tuesday. Prosecutors said that the couple was feuding 2 days before Suzanne, a 49-year-old mother of 2, went missing. "I'm done, I could care what you've been up to for years. We just need to figure this out civilly," she texted her husband on the morning of May 8. Later on, that afternoon, they were fighting about money, according to cell phone records, and investigators described Barry Morphew as suicidal. "I promise you are wrong about all the crazy thoughts about me," he texted at around 3:52 p.m. that day. "Only a fool would stray from an angel like you. When I am dead, which won't be long, you guys will be taken care of." Suzanne Morphew had been exchanging texts, selfies and audio messages with an alleged lover before she vanished last year, prosecutors said Monday. They alleged that her husband discovered the communications and killed her in a rage. Suzanne Morphew was at home sunbathing on Saturday, May 9, when prosecutors said she sent her last text, which was a photo of herself to her alleged boyfriend. After that, he texted back asking about the weather, but she never responded again. Barry Morphew has maintained his innocence throughout countless unsuccessful searches for Suzanne Morphew, and issued a $100,000 reward for her return. In a home video, he theorized that she may have been abducted. He has also speculated in interviews with reporters that his wife may have been killed by a mountain lion. Since his arrest in May 2021, law enforcement says Barry Morphew has not agreed to an interview with them. In court Tuesday, his attorneys reminded prosecutors that he spoke with them at least 23 times in the year leading up to his arrest. Suzanne Morphew, mother of 2 daughters, reportedly went for a bike ride on Sunday, May 10, 2020, which was Mother's Day, and never returned home, the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office said at the time. Sheriff's deputies said they found her blue bike, with colorful pedals, tumbled down a mountain slope near their home. Investigators say they were paying close attention to Barry Morphew's statements early on. He told law enforcement that he left for work that Mother's Day morning at 5 a.m. But the arrest affidavit states that based on Barry Morphew's telematics report on his truck, law enforcement alleges from 2:47 p.m. May 9th until 5:37 a.m. May 10th, he took steps to dispose of evidence of Suzanne's disappearance and death. Former FBI Special Agent Jonathan Grusing testified Tuesday that data from Barry Morphew's phone shows that he drove home at 2:44 p.m. on Saturday, May 9th, and was moving around the outside of the house for several minutes until the phone went on airplane mode. It was 7 more hours until the phone came out of airplane mode at 10:17 p.m., prosecutors say. Prosecutors said cell phone records show that the next morning, at 5:37 a.m., Barry Morphew drove nearly 3 hours to Broomfield, Colorado, he told investigators, to work on a construction landscape project. Once there, authorities said surveillance video and Google Map photos show that he made 5 stops to dispose of trash, first at his worksite, then near the Holiday Inn where he checked in and changed shirts, at a Men's Warehouse store, at a McDonald's restaurant, and then at another dumpster. At one of the sites, prosecutors said, Morphew can be seen carrying a camouflage jacket and an empty tree or bush container to a dumpster. At another, authorities said he's seen pushing trash into a bin with both hands. When investigators asked him what he was throwing out, he said that at one of the trash sites, he was getting rid of wrappers, according to prosecutors. At other times, they said he told them he couldn't remember what he threw out. Almost a year to the day that she went missing, May 5, 2021, her husband was arrested on charges of first-degree murder, tampering with physical evidence and attempt to influence a public servant, the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office said. Barry Morphew appeared in court in a gray suit and tie and mouthed, "I love you," to the couple's 2 grown daughters during breaks. Mallory and Macy Morphew pulled their masks down so that their father could see them smiling. Barry Morphew's mother and sister were also present both days, at times consoling one another during the testimony. Since Morphew's phone has never been found, FBI Special Agent Ken Harris interpreted Suzanne Morphew's text messages to her close friend, Susan Oliver, from interviews he did with Oliver. According to Harris, when Suzanne wrote, "I can't handle the pain," Harris told the court that from talking with Oliver, Suzanne's short message referred to the pain she would feel over how a divorce would adversely affect her 2 daughters. Authorities say in early interviews, Barry Morphew told police Suzanne Morphew was his angel since she was 17 years old, that they'd been together for 32 years, and said they love each other to death. In court Monday, investigators said Morphew told them he left at 5 a.m. that Sunday while his wife was asleep and texted her, "Happy Mother's Day." According to investigators, he said her lack of reply wasn't unusual with spotty reception in their house. Authorities say, once he spoke to his daughters, who also said they hadn't heard from their mom, he began to worry. Sheriff's officers said they found the missing mother's bike in the early evening Sunday. They say the bike was deep in the brush on a steep hill, apparently thrown from the side of the road. However, they say they did not find any damage on the bike, skid or brake marks on the road, or blood anywhere. On body camera video, Barry Morphew is heard telling investigators that he feared someone picking her up. He also seemed to suggest that a mountain lion may have attacked her, when he asked deputies if they'd seen any cats in the area. The temperatures that day were barely above freezing. Authorities said they found her undamaged turquoise helmet, a few days later, nearly a mile away from the bike. Barry Morphew didn't protest when authorities searched his house and picked up his truck, former district attorney investigator Alex Walker said. The sheriff's office said 70 law enforcement officers spent thousands of hours using drones, aircraft, scuba divers and canines to find Suzanne Morphew. A geologist conducted a ground-penetrating radar survey, and authorities carried out multiple excavations, but no grave or human remains were found. Investigators busted concrete, searched abandoned mountain mines, and even looked in an Xcel Energy pipe. Authorities received more than 1,000 tips. Still, the missing mom has not been found. Though authorities said they have no evidence of Barry Morphew having an affair, they found that his wife suspected him of having one, and she had planted a secret spy pen in his truck. Ironically, authorities say Suzanne Morphew's spy pen recorded conversations revealing her own alleged affair with a man named Jeff Leibler. Harris said Morphew and Leibler had been carrying on an affair for 1.5 to 2 years and had amassed hundreds of hours of secret phone calls, WhatsApp and LinkedIn communications. He told the court they secretly met up, on trips away from home at least 6 times. Leibler, a married father of 6, did not come forward voluntarily after her disappearance, Harris said. Investigators did not interview him until November 2020, 6 months after Suzanne Morphew went missing. Investigators say he told them that he didn't want Suzanne Morphew's legacy to be that she was having an affair with that guy, and that he was worried about losing his job and his family if the secret relationship got out. Defense attorneys alleged in court Tuesday that Suzanne Morphew also had a secret bank account, which received money on April 23, 2020, at 4:31 a.m. Leibler said he carried a torch for Suzanne Morphew and cared for her through the years before they reconnected. The last messages he sent were on Mother's Day and the day after, when she was supposed to have a cancer treatment. She did not respond. Barry Morphew had listed several firearms with deputies, and told investigators who came to his house in those first few days that he keeps ammunition locked in a gun safe at home. Suzanne Morphew often confided in her friend, Susan Oliver. Prosecutors on Monday presented texts they said were exchanged between the two friends, showing Suzanne's strife in her marriage. Suzanne Morphew said that her husband was not stable and didn't know when he would be mad. When they were arguing, he brought their daughters in and blamed her, the text said. According to testimony by Harris, Suzanne Morphew told Oliver in the texts that he put a gun to his head and said, "Is this what you want?" In the year before she went missing, Harris said Suzanne also told Oliver that he pinned her on the bed and wouldn't let her up. She threatened to involve law enforcement, Harris said. It was a matter of timing when she could get out of the marriage, she said in the texts, according to Harris. Suzanne Morphew compared herself to her mom and how her mom divorced. Once she made a decision, it was firm, she told Oliver in a text shown at the hearing. On cross-examination, Barry Morphew's attorneys said that unknown male DNA, that did not match Barry, was found on the glove box of Suzanne's Range Rover, which was similar to the DNA of one male, with 3 sexual assaults when it was put into CODIS, the National Prison Database. Tuesday was a long day of cross-examination from Morphew's attorneys over whether Barry Morphew could have had time to dispose of a body on May 9, bringing up a visit he made to a spa store to fix the couple's hot tub. Defense attorney Drew Nielsen also questioned GPS equipment on Barry Morphew's car, which showed when the doors opened and the time the truck's lights were turning on and off. Suzanne's body has still not been found.
Number 6.
A Missouri man is on trial for killing 2 women, nearly 10 years apart from one another, after they allegedly spurned his advances. Kylr Yust, 32 years old, is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of Jessica Runions and Kara Kopetsky, who prosecutors allege he killed with his bare hands, before hiding their bodies in the woods, according to local station WDAF. Jessica Runions was last seen September 8 leaving a gathering of friends in South Kansas City. 2 days later, the 21-year-old's burned vehicle was found in a nearby wooded area. Kylr Yust, a man who had been questioned for the disappearance of another young woman in 2007, has been charged with burning the vehicle. Runion's disappearance has tormented her family members, but they have united in a quest to bring justice to their missing granddaughter, niece, sister, daughter. "You get discouraged," said grandmother Linda Runions. "But then, it's not going to beat me." Family members pack any court hearing in which Just appears. They form search parties each week. About 35 banded together on a recent day in court, wearing matching shirts with Jessica Runion's name printed on it. Many arrived 45 minutes early, and when the proceedings began they fell silent, intent on not missing a word. They have also turned to a tool unavailable to families searching for missing loved ones until recently. Social media have helped the Runions family seek answers by providing a venue to receive tips from a variety of sources and by serving as a forum to solicit volunteers for search parties. Facebook serves as a sort of public confidant, a place for some in the Runions family to plead for an end to the misery of the unknown and unresolved. The missing woman's mother, Jamie Runions, posted a collection of photos of her daughter to Facebook earlier this month. In the post, she wrote at length of her pain. "Look at these pictures, pass them along, share," she wrote. "I need her found. Good or bad, I need this nightmare over." How would you feel when you can do absolutely nothing in protecting your kids from the darkness of the world? Technology has allowed family members to connect with people near and far. Linda Runions said many from the Kansas City area have suggested places to investigate via Facebook. "They know the area, and they're telling us, here's a good place to look," Linda Runions said. The thoughtfulness of strangers from across the U.S. and as far away as Paris has at times overwhelmed Linda Runions. She added others have read about the case on social media and connected with the family online. The social web has allowed many, including retired law enforcement officers, to reach out to the family. Here, Michelle Runions, Jessica Runion's aunt, said social networks have made organizing search parties easier, and they have expanded the pool of potential participants. "It's a big network," she said. "People you don't even know would be involved can get involved." Social media also helps the family keep Jessica Runion's image in the public eye. Many family and friends have Facebook profile pictures with her in them. Some days are easier than others for Michelle Runions to see her niece's face in so many pixels, wondering if she'll see it again in person. "Some days it's uplifting, other days it can be hard," she said. "But the goal is to keep her face out there and the story going so we can find her." As the family of Kara Kopetsky has been for nearly a decade, members of the Runions family are seeking justice through every conceivable avenue. Just was questioned multiple times in the 2007 disappearance of Kopetsky, who is still missing. Michelle Runions scours maps in her free time, seeking open, undeveloped space. When driving, she steals glances out the window, trying to spot empty land that the family can search next. "You try to narrow it down, but you just don't know. You just don't know," she said, looking out a window from the 8th floor of the Jackson County Courthouse, where a pretrial conference for Just was scheduled on November 17. The miles and miles of earth stretched to the horizon beneath her. Jessica Runion's father, John Michael Runions, takes 2 or 3 days each week to search for his daughter. Other members of the family meet each Sunday, in fields and empty lots and wooded areas. About 30 people form the informal search parties, and comb the land for any trace of the missing woman. They sweep acres and acres that can be difficult to cover with a few dozen people, but the family clings to hope in the face of nightmarish possibilities. "We are going to find her," Linda Runions said, "and that's all there is to it." A common refrain passed around social media by the family is that someone knows something. Any clue, however small, could lead to answers. Another of Jessica Runion's aunts, Shelley Clam, recently started a private Facebook group for the Runions family. Clam, who doesn't live in Missouri, and other out-of-state family members stay connected with the local Runions nucleus through the group. The medium allows the family to circulate tips or entreaties, such as a recent one to deer hunters, in which a photo of Jessica Runions appeared, next to an image of a white-tailed buck. The post, made by Linda Runions, had more than 400 shares as of late November. Others who never met Jessica Runions are doing what they can to help online. Joy Garner of Raymore started a Facebook group called Praying for Jessica Runions. Garner wrote that the page was created to help spread the missing woman's story. She said she felt an urge to do something, no matter how small. When not together online or outdoors, hunting for clues, the family bands together in the courtroom. On November 17, on the 8th floor of the Jackson County Courthouse, relatives of Jessica Runions divided themselves among the courtroom benches. The family members waited for the top of the hour, when a pretrial conference was scheduled for Just. It was a Thursday, 70 days after Jessica Runions' disappearance. At 10 minutes before 2 p.m. in the courtroom, a handful of attorneys ambled in. Just's wasn't the only case on the docket, and surprise registered on more than one of the attorneys' faces as they saw the public seating area at close to capacity, due in large part to the Runions family. The attorneys, including the prosecutor in the Just case, sat and looked through their print and digital materials, and the family's voices dropped to whispers, as though respecting the quite necessary, to solve an elaborate puzzle. "It's a quest that we're on," Linda Runions had said earlier from a bench outside the courtroom. "You don't give in to feeling scared to face him or be in the same room. He's not going to intimidate us. We're going to be right here." Although Just was not expected to appear in court for the pretrial conference, which was eventually rescheduled for December 1, his presence was impossible to ignore. At an earlier court date, Runion's father, in a courtroom with Just for the first time, had to be restrained by family members. "Just has to have his fair trial in court," Linda Runions said. "We have to be careful to be congenial and basically cold toward him, that's how I feel. You don't want anything to jeopardize what the courts do." Just, who has not been charged in Jessica Runions' disappearance, faces a Class D felony charge for burning her vehicle. The crime carries a maximum sentence of 4 years in prison. Jurors heard the recording of the FBI wiretap, which took place on February 11, 2011, after Ferris' testimony. Nick Yates, a former friend and bandmate of Just, also testified that Just had confessed to killing Kopetsky, while the two were at a Burger King after a party. Yates testified that Just said he killed the teen because she didn't love him. He didn't want anyone else to have her. Yet, Just's defense attorneys have argued that there is no physical evidence linking him to either murder. Defense attorney Sharon Turlington said in her opening statements Monday that not one hair or drop of blood connects Just to the homicides, KCUR reports. She also argued that Just had alibis for the killings, and had spent time with his grandparents, his aunt and attended band practice on the day Kopetsky disappeared. Turlington also pointed to phone records that seemed to suggest that Just and Runions had not been together as prosecutors claimed, and suggested Just's now deceased half-brother, Jessup Carter, as an alternative suspect in the case. "KYLR Just is innocent," she said. "This is a long and complicated case that spans more than a decade." In Linda Runions' Facebook profile picture, a younger Jessica Runions, in a drawstring hoodie and with a smile revealing braces, poses with her grandmother. The photo was taken about 4 years ago. "You hardly ever saw her mad," Linda Runions said of her granddaughter. Then she added later, "We still have hope because we know people are found a year after they've been missing. We feel like it's our right to find her." Anyone with information related to the case is urged to call the Kansas City Police Department's Missing Persons Hotline at 816-234-5136 or the TIPS hotline at 816-474, TIPS 8477.
Number 7.
Sara Burke was only 19 years old when she was brutally murdered on May 3, 2011. She lived in Bremerton, Washington at the time of her death. On that tragic evening, police were called after a young woman was found with a single stab wound to the neck on the 800 block of Warren Avenue. Shortly before Sara was found, witnesses heard two people arguing and subsequent screaming. Burke's grave at the Ivy Green Cemetery is surrounded by flowers, a few porcelain angels and other ornaments. Tom Cressman, a city parks employee who oversees the cemetery, said it's always been that way. There's always stuff around it because people keep coming to decorate it and remember her, Cressman said. We've got to remember her and the tragedy of what happened to her. I still remember talking to her parents, and the sadness in their eyes and the pain of talking about it. It's just so sad. Burke, a 19-year-old Bremerton woman, was stabbed in the neck on May 3, 2011. Neighbors reported hearing an argument and screams around 9:30 p.m. that night. The police later discovered Burke's body on the sidewalk of Warren Avenue near 8th Street. The murder case remains open and active nearly 3 years later, but no arrests have been made. The lead detective is not giving up and Burke's father seems frustrated, but also believes an arrest will eventually be made. I'm kind of at a loss, really, about the investigation, Chester Burke said. I think we're stuck in the same place we were when this first happened. They obviously are working on it, but they don't have any real concrete evidence that they can relate to me as to what the investigation leads to other than that they have had a person of interest. I'm hopeful that they will eventually make an arrest. Obviously, they can't release all of what they know, but I think they will make an arrest. Mr. Burke's biggest hope is that anyone who has information about what happened to his daughter will call the police. 3 years is a long time for somebody to walk free having done what they did, he said. I don't want to let it die until it's resolved, and I don't think she would want me to. The main thing for me is keeping the story out there, as much as possible, until we come to a conclusion. Sara had 2 sisters and 2 brothers. They're just like the rest of the family, Mr. Burke said. They want answers, and they want some resolution to this. I think they're moving on in their own way, as we all have to. More than anything, they'd like an answer as to how this happened, and who's responsible. I and her mother feel the same way. Mr. Burke says his daughter was a bubbly person. She was always making friends, he said. She meant a lot to us and her friends. She would go out of her way to help anybody that needed a helping hand, and we miss her terribly. We miss her very much. We miss her smile and her good nature. She obviously meant a lot to us as well as her friends. Bremerton Detective Rodney Harker responded to the scene of Burke's murder and has been working the case ever since. He acknowledges that the more time that passes the more difficult it becomes to solve a murder case. When asked if he was still optimistic that he can close the Burke case, Detective Harker said, "You have to remain that way, yeah. There are still frustrations, though. I think the biggest thing would probably be lack of evidence," Harker said. In every case you have witnesses, people that you can talk to. But a witness might only have a very small piece of a puzzle, but for hard evidence, which is typically what is going to put a case over the top, we just have very little. Exactly 9 months after Burke's murder, Melody Brannon, 61, was stabbed and killed near a High Avenue home. The cases have always been considered to possibly be related. In between the 2 killings, a man named Kenneth Cobb was stabbed in the neck. Luckily, he survived, Harker said. It might be related, might not. After Brannon's murder, the FBI came in with a special task force to assist Bremerton police. They set up a tip information line and a database management system called Orion that helps coordinate information and get it out to detectives and supervisors to track casework. No arrests have been made in any of the 3 cases. All the while, though, Harker has remained committed to solving Burke's murder. Captain James Burchett says there isn't a lead Harker won't follow. In any case you have people that are involved, and then the fringe and the outer fringe, Burchett said. Harker always talks about the threads that weave out and intertwine. This person knows this person, and that person knows that person. You find all of these relationships, and they may not have an interest in talking to the police, and they may not have close ties to the case itself, but you follow all of those threads until they absolutely go nowhere. Those leads have taken Harker far and wide. I've covered nearly the whole state going to some different prisons to talk to people, Harker said, adding that he also interviewed someone in a jail outside of Washington state. Harker is reluctant to talk about himself and what it's like to work a homicide case for 3 years. I want to focus on Sara, he said. It's not about me. You do learn about your victim, like Sara. Obviously, nobody deserves to die. It's something you think about every day. Might be on vacation at home thinking about it, because you want to get it solved. Not only for the victim, but for the victim's family, and what they have to go through, because they don't know either. Harker says there are about 350 reports in the case file, and well over 300 interviews have been conducted. Several think binders take up the majority of shelf space in a BPD conference room. The files are still growing. Just here recently, I had a couple walk-ins about it, and you have to look at all of them, he said. One guy, come to find out, he was a client of Kitsap Mental Health, but you gotta look at all of them. Investigators have been unable to establish a motive for Sara's murder. In fact, investigators have not ruled out the possibility that her murder was completely random. In 2013, police announced that they had a specific person of interest, but this person has never been publicly identified, and no arrests have been made in Sara's case. Now that years have passed, it is unclear if investigators are still looking into this person of interest. Investigators have also looked into the possibility that Sara's case was connected to other cases of stabbings in the Bremerton area. About a month and a half after Sara's death, a 50-year-old man survived a knife attack by an unknown assailant on Burwell Street. 7 months later, a woman named Melody Brannon was found brutally stabbed to death inside her home on High Avenue. After these attacks, many began to worry that there was a serial killer in Bremerton. While this possibility has not been ruled out, investigators have since announced that they do not believe Sara and Melody were killed by the same person. Sara's murder remains unsolved. If you have any information that could lead to her killer, please contact Bremerton Police Department's General Investigations Unit at 36047352228.
Number 8.
Cory Schroeder vanished in Benton, Arkansas on May 21, 2019. He disappeared just one day before his 45th birthday. Before Cory vanished, he posted, "Going to be leaving Facebook in a few days. Going on a new adventure," on his Facebook page. It's unclear what he was referencing in this post, and he has not been active on Facebook again. Cory went missing the following day. News reports state that Cory vanished after a friend dropped him off at the Avila grocery store in Benton. He was reportedly wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt and carrying a red and black backpack at the time. Most news reports about Cory's disappearance say that he was never seen or heard from again after that, and very few other details are provided. However, Cory's family members have shared a few more details on a Facebook page dedicated to spreading awareness on his disappearance. In response to a post inquiring about the day Cory vanished, Cory's sister wrote that he was dropped off at Huckabee's on Highway 35, and then either got a ride or walked to another friend's place on Cottonwood. From there, Cory's sister explained that she was told Cory left that house on foot at some later point. The person who said he left on foot is reportedly incarcerated on unrelated charges at this time. It's unclear if this person is considered a person of interest in Cory's disappearance. Cory is described as 6 feet 8 inches tall and approximately 235 pounds. Many have questioned how someone of his size can simply vanish without a trace. Cory's loved ones believe that someone in Benton community knows what happened, and they are hoping someone will come forward soon. Detectives ask anyone with information about Mr. Schroeder or his whereabouts please call them at 501-303-5647 or 501-303-5648 or call their local law enforcement agency. Anonymous information may be left by calling 501-303-5744.